The restaurant sat on a narrow cobbled street glowing under the amber wash of Sicilian lanterns, the kind of place tourists dreamed about and locals respected. White linen tables, crystal glasses, the scent of garlic and basil drifting through warm evening air, it was elegance wrapped in tradition. But that night, the atmosphere shifted the moment he walked in. Everyone recognized him. The tailored charcoal suit, the slow deliberate steps, the men flanking him like shadows, he carried authority without raising his voice. People called him many things behind closed doors, but to his face, he was simply Senior. A man whispered about in dockyards and boardrooms alike. A mafia boss whose reputation traveled faster than the Mediterranean wind. Isabella had been working double shifts for weeks. A simple waitress with her dark hair tied neatly in a bun, she moved between tables with quiet efficiency. She was invisible by design, polite smile, lowered gaze, precise service. Invisible people survived longer in places ruled by men like him. When the maitre d' nervously gestured for her to take the table, she didn't hesitate. Bills needed to be paid. Dreams needed funding. Fear had no salary. She approached with menus balanced carefully in her hands. The men at the table stopped mid-conversation as she greeted them in perfect Italian. The boss leaned back in his chair, eyes scanning her from head to toe with detached amusement. He said nothing at first, simply observing. Isabella placed the wine list before him. His fingers brushed it away dismissively. Then he spoke, in Sicilian dialect. Not standard Italian. Not the polished language tourists practiced. But the thick, intimate dialect of the island. The kind outsiders rarely understood. His tone was low, mocking. He made a crude joke about her posture. His men chuckled. He commented on how waitresses should know their place. Another laugh. He asked if she even understood real language, implying she was nothing more than decoration in an apron. The laughter grew louder. Isabella felt every word. She understood each syllable perfectly. Her heart thudded against her ribs, but her face remained composed. Years ago, as a child, she had lived in a small Sicilian village before moving away. Her grandmother had insisted she learn the dialect, telling her that language was more than words, it was power. When you understand what others think you cannot, her grandmother had said, you hold the advantage. The boss continued, now emboldened by her silence. He made another remark, sharper this time, about intelligence and beauty rarely existing in the same person. His men roared. And then Isabella responded. In flawless Sicilian. Her voice was calm. Clear. Controlled. She addressed him respectfully but directly, correcting his misuse of a proverb he had just quoted incorrectly. She pointed out, in the same dialect, that true power was measured not by how loudly one could humiliate another, but by how confidently one could uplift them. She even referenced an old Sicilian saying about lions not needing to remind others they are lions. Silence fell over the table like a dropped curtain. One of the men nearly choked on his wine. Another stared at her, stunned. The boss's expression didn't change at first, but his fingers stopped moving. The amusement drained from his eyes, replaced by something unfamiliar, calculation. He studied her again, but this time not as an object. As you can hear, she continued gently, still in dialect, I understand perfectly. Would you like to hear tonight's specials? The boldness was not in her volume but in her steadiness. She had not insulted him. She had not raised her tone. She had simply met him where he stood, and stood firm. For the first time in years, someone had answered him in a language he considered his private territory. His weapon. His shield. He dismissed his men's nervous laughter with a small wave. Tell me the specials, he said in standard Italian now. And she did. Confidently. Professionally. As though nothing had happened. But everything had changed. The rest of the dinner passed under a strange tension. The men spoke more cautiously. The boss observed her whenever she approached the table, noticing the precision in her movements, the intelligence behind her eyes. When she poured wine, her hands didn't tremble. When she served dessert, her gaze did not falter. After the meal, as the other men stepped outside, he remained seated. "Where did you learn Sicilian like that?" he asked quietly. "My grandmother believed language should never be forgotten," Isabella replied. He nodded slowly. "Most people forget where they come from. Some of us can't afford to," she said. That answer lingered between them. He left a generous tip, far beyond standard, and walked out into the night without another word. But as his car disappeared down the street, Isabella sensed something deeper than money had shifted. Respect had been earned. Not demanded. Not forced. Earned. And in his world, that was rare currency. Before the chapter closes, the lesson becomes clear for viewers: never underestimate someone's silence. Sometimes, it's not ignorance, it's patience. And when patience speaks, it echoes.